Hey there, and welcome to Beyond Borders, the Immigration Evaluation Podcast. If you're a mental health professional looking to expand your practice and make a meaningful impact by conducting immigration psychological evaluations, you're in the right place. I'm Dr. Mariella Shibley, and on this podcast, we dive into the ins and outs of conducting immigration evaluations, helping you grow your practice while helping families stay together. So let's get into it. Today, I'd like to talk about a serious issue in the mental health field, and that is the rise of shortcut training for immigration evaluations. There's a troubling mindset among some mental health professionals who believe that they can learn to conduct immigration evaluations in a 1-hour lecture or by using a sample report as a guide. This oversimplified approach not only undermines the integrity of the evaluation process, but also puts immigrant families at risk. Immigration evaluations aren't just about writing a report. They require a deep understanding of both the legal and psychological aspects of each case. A proper evaluation can make or break a case. They influence decisions on asylum, hardship waivers, and other immigration relief. I'll tell you a little bit about my own journey into this specialty. I actually didn't even set out to specialize in immigration evaluations. My journey into this field happened somewhat by chance. My husband was working at a law firm with other immigration attorneys, and when they found out that I was a psychologist, they asked if I could help with their cases. Now, at first, I was hesitant because I knew that forensic and clinical evaluations were different from immigration evaluations. But the attorneys gave me sample reports to review, which was helpful in understanding the structure. But I knew right away that simply reading reports wasn't enough to develop expertise. So a handful of immigration attorneys, including my husband, took the time to teach me the legal foundations of different immigration cases and what assessment reports needed to cover. I remember getting my early reports back, some of them full of red marks with comments like, "You can't use this word in a report," or "What is this jargon? What does this mean?" Or simply saying, "Well, you need to home in on this specific detail." So it was really through trial and error, mentorship, and hands-on learning that I gradually refined my skills. I sought out lectures from immigration judges, consulted with experienced mental health professionals in the field, and continually built my expertise in forensic psychology to also improve my reports. Now, as I became more proficient, I was invited to present at AILA conferences, that is the American Immigration Lawyers Association, where I took every opportunity to attend other lectures and learn more. And the learning never stops. Just recently, we hosted an in-house training with an immigration attorney to do a deep dive into T visas, because we've been getting a lot of those recently. So the key difference between when I started and now is that today there are structured trainings available for mental health professionals. And another critical change is that attorneys no longer have to mentor an evaluator from the ground up. If they don't like your report, they'll simply refer clients to somebody else. So that's why mental health professionals entering this field need proper training now more than ever. To conduct a thorough evaluation, mental health professionals have to understand key immigration legal concepts, such as extreme hardship, the trauma's impact on credibility, the burden of proof required for different case types. A single training session or a sample report can never capture the depth of expertise needed to navigate these legal and psychological nuances. Without proper training, an evaluator risks providing a weak or misleading report, one that could lead to a case denial and devastating consequences for an immigrant and their family. For example, imagine a young man who was brought to the U.S. as a teenager and was later coerced into criminal activities under threat of violence. Now as an adult, he's seeking a T visa, but he sees a mental health professional who writes a report, and his case actually sounds more like a U visa. It's focused more on the harm he endured and, his cooperation that he has provided to law enforcement, and it's not helpful. So a poorly trained evaluator might fail to distinguish between the nuances of these visa types, leading to a report that does not adequately support his case. If the evaluation lacks key information about the human trafficking, his application may be denied, leaving him vulnerable to deportation and further danger potentially. So the idea that someone can learn immigration evaluations in one quick session is not just unrealistic, but it's also unethical. Mental health professionals have an obligation to ensure that their work is competent, evidence-based, and aligned with legal standards. Shortcut training directly contradicts the ethical guidelines set by basically all major mental health professional organizations. For example, the American Psychological Association. The Ethics Code, Standard 2.01, states that psychologists must provide services within their scope of competence and base their professional judgment on established scientific and professional knowledge. That's Standard 2.04. Shortcut training fails both of these standards, leading to subpar evaluations that can harm clients. Another case, the National Association of Social Workers Code of Ethics. They mandate that social workers practice within their areas of competence, that's Standard 1.04, and that they continue to develop their professional expertise. A quick training session doesn't meet these ethical requirements. And then lastly, the American Counseling Association. Their code of ethics requires counselors to obtain the necessary education, training, and supervised experience before offering specialized services. That's Standard C.2.A. And also the American Mental Health Counselors Association. Their code of ethics states that counselors must engage in ongoing professional development and practice only in areas where they're properly trained. That's Principle 3. So as you can see, every one of these professional organizations makes it very clear. Mental health professionals must only provide services that they're fully trained for. Shortcut training violates these ethical principles, and it puts immigrants at risk by producing weak and ineffective evaluations that can lead to case denials. If you're ready to grow your income and impact, head to the link in the description box to learn more about my training program. For now, let's get back into the episode. Another example, let's say that an evaluator submits a report for a child whose father is facing deportation. So if the report just states basically that the deportation would cause sadness for the family and cites articles on the negative impact of family separations without detailing the psychological consequences that this child would be subject to if separated from their parent, such as the child's mental health, any specific vulnerabilities, ongoing needs, then the report will lack the necessary weight to support the case, and the burden of proof for cancellation or removal is really high. So the attorney handling the case may either have to scramble for additional evidence, or worse, the case may be denied, and the mental health professional will certainly never receive another referral from that attorney. So to make it clear, let's compare this to another field. For example, imagine a doctor who attends a 1-hour seminar on surgery and then starts operating on patients. The consequences would be terrible. Maybe a better example, a mechanic who's never worked on a car but simply read a manual. Would you want to send your car to that mechanic? I certainly wouldn't. So just like surgery or auto repair, conducting immigration evaluations requires hands-on experience. It requires mentorship and continuous learning. Shortcut training skips over these essential elements, leaving mental health professionals unprepared and clients vulnerable. Reality is, there are no shortcuts when it comes to immigration evaluations. Cutting corners doesn't just hurt your professional credibility, it can have real-life consequences for immigrants who are depending on these evaluations to stay in the country, to reunite with their families, or to escape danger. But I want to end on a positive note because I truly believe that most people who enter this field do so with the best of intentions. They want to help. They trust in their skills. And they genuinely believe that if they read a book, review a sample report, or attend a single training, that they'll be ready to do this work. And I get it. We don't know what we don't know. It might sound cliche, but it is true. The good news is that the willingness to learn and grow is what separates great professionals from those who struggle. If you're listening to this, it means you care about doing this work the right way. So take the time to seek proper training, surround yourself with knowledgeable mentors, and remain committed to lifelong learning. That's how we ensure that mental health professionals truly help immigrant families rather than becoming part of the problem. Thank you for tuning in today. I hope this conversation has shed light on the importance of proper training in immigration evaluations. Until next time, continue to uphold integrity and professionalism in all that you do. That's a wrap up for today. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with a fellow mental health provider who needs to hear it. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe so you don't miss my next episode.